Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. Moving on from the last video, I started to continue the development of this hub arrangement, not with the, as I mentioned, the anticipation of using it myself, but as an exercise, I wanted to complete the project. And it may well be something I want to look at just to see whether it can be as easily built as I think it can be. So I had settled on this mustard coloured strut, this arrangement here where we've recessed the surface to allow for the articulation of this strut. Now, just as an aside, with the shape that I've got, you can articulate it up or down by about 40 degrees. So this would be able to be used in many situations, not just a dome situation or project. I'm thinking like large garden umbrellas, really large. Anyway, this recess, from this recess I created a pattern so that it related to the side profile of the bracket, thinking that I'd be able to rotate it round, superimpose it on this strut, because after all they are the same dimension as far as, you know, the vertical dimension is the 100 millimeters, and all I needed to do was to rotate it slightly, and hey presto, I've got the pattern for this. It turned out not to be quite as straightforward, which is interesting unto itself, but something else I'll have to think through. Once I checked it, I thought, oh look, I'm just going to the orientations, because these three struts are all different in height relative to each other. I thought I'd pop in the guidelines. That's why I leave this central line here for a guide. And I did this. I came up into the center and I thought, you know, this one's been changed. These now all meet in the center here, which is what I wanted. Prior to this though, there was a discrepancy in the elevations of the struts and therefore the brackets. And because of the method, I'll get rid of those, because of the method I have adopted recently, I wanted to show this, or create this video and show you why I do what I do. I've got the iterations side by side. We start from left and progress to the right, this being the latest, or these two being the latest changes or developments. But by keeping within one project, one file, one drawing, the different iterations means I can use them, the original, as a validation for what I'm doing on the later versions. I'll just hide that. As you can see, all of the struts and these center lines, which are the geometric lines, come to a common point. They must do. They're geometrically correct from my original model. And I create this thing called, what I've called a spider. Obvious enough, there's its legs, and that just happens to be the intersection point, and therefore a vertical line for alignment. Because I have a systematic approach now, I have these models spaced at 1 meter centers, so everything along here will be in that 1 meter increment relative to the previous iteration. So I can take this, move it, I'll just undo that, sometimes it doesn't hold, I can move it 5 meters and come down here, and it's perfectly overlaid onto my model. And this was how I was able to pick up the discrepancy, because at one point this was maybe 1 or 2 millimeters higher, and the spider, these lines, were buried in the strut. They were perfectly aligned on these two, but for some reason in my efforts I had jogged this strut down, and of course when I rotate it to here to get a faithful copy, of course it too was in the wrong position. Now I wouldn't have known that unless I had this process of checking, and it can be many hours or days or weeks later that you pick up the discrepancy, and you just won't know. And we're working on the theory that we have zero, as close as possible, zero tolerance in our drawings to allow for any inaccuracies to only occur in our physical model when we go to build it. We don't want to start out with errors here and find they compound once we get to the real world situation. So that was just a quick video just to say, if you have a development process that you're following, keep close at hand models like this so that you can quickly go back to them, bring them into the model. Alternatively, if you follow the same strategy between drawings from different files, having that reference will still allow you to move accurately the information or the models into place and check that way. So that's still possible, but as you can understand, this development process is a lot easier by having them all in one drawing. Okay, so that's the theme of that. Well, have a system, stick to it. It's good for checking your models as you go through for accuracy. Okie dokie, that was a shorty, as I said. Now I'll wander off and see you later. Bye.